right. We've got an amazing, probably the most important topic there is, marketing to yourself, marketing happiness. We're going to talk about this on the Garlic Marketing Show with the doctor of happiness science. I, I don't know, I'm making that up, but Dr. Paul Zach, thank you for being on.
So fun to be with you again.
Yes, and we're going to talk about how he's built an amazing app and an amazing website that will scientifically, this book he wrote will scientifically improve your happiness. Why Google had him come and teach us to their team at Google the 50% rule of happiness, how it tracks your progress. The importance of Google's 3-day work week for happiness and leadership, bad leadership styles versus great leadership styles, the power of the only blue zone in the United States where people live a long time, the most powerful virtue for happiness that Dr. Paul talks about, how Ben Franklin is connected to all of this, and I think one of the most important questions that he asks himself every day. All this on the Garlic Marketing Show, but of course, one of the best ways you can stay happy in your business is finding those customer stories that really the people whose lives you've changed. Go to videocasestory.com/finder where we'll help you find those amazing case stories. All right, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. And, we've had him probably like 3 or 4 times just because his books are absolutely amazing. Immersion is amazing. All of his books on trust factors, the moral molecule, all incredible. But now this one's a little lighter. And not that they're all not light, but this is lighter in the fact that it's not as deep science, but it has scientific backgrounds. Tell me a little bit about how you got to writing the little book of happiness.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if you look at all my books, they all have happiness in some level in the subtitle. So
Yep.
The whole reason to think about creating extraordinary experiences for ourselves, for customers, is to create happiness. And so, as you may know, my religion is called CLV, Customer Lifetime Value. And so I want to wow you every time you have an experience. And what we found is a lot of that happens from the way you interact with customers. And so if you have an employee that's not excited, not passionate about what they're doing, if your online marketing sucks and it's just not bringing them joy, it's going to be hard to, get them excited about your product or service. And so ultimately that led to, hey, actually, where does happiness come from and what can we do to build more of it for ourselves? And so happy people do live longer, live healthier, and they're just nicer to be around. So after 25 years, how can I figure that out and create something that's kind of useful, a playbook, if you will?
I love it. And you made a companion app too around. So you made the app first. We talked about it last time you were on the show. And tell us a little bit about the app that goes with it.
Right. So again, I want to get rid of the kind of BS approach, which is this actually making me happier? If I kind of go through this program in the book, will I be happier? And so, last year we launched an app called YourSix, SIX, because my research showed you need 6 high immersion, peak immersion experiences per day to really be happy. So immersion is this network in the brain through which we value social emotional experiences. And once we had found that network some years ago, we created, as you know, software to help people create better marketing, better entertainment, better live experiences. But it really led to this question because so much of my research has focused on health and happiness. Gosh, do people who have more of these high value experiences, are they different than people who don't have those? And we found that those who have 6 or more of these high value experiences are really thriving. So this, again, 1-second frequency, continuous neurophysiologic data. And it gives you a new language and a goal to talk about how to thrive. Oh, just like 10,000 steps, which is kind of made up. There's no real science around 10,000 steps, but it's hard but achievable. So 6 of these high value moments are hard but achievable. When people have them, they have high mood, they have high energy. When you have 3 or less, you have depressive symptoms. You have low mood and low energy. And so the book is a companion to the app, which is free. And you go through and track how many high value experiences you have. And here's the rig, as you know, there's always a rig to anything you're doing, which is any experience to it, you add a social component, you add people to it, is almost always going to be more valuable. So I might hike up a mountain and watch the sunrise by myself. Great. Could really be a high value experience, but I bring you along with me or another friend. It's going to be better, right? Because we're going to be talking, well, oh my God, look at the sunrise. It's so beautiful. And so part of this is to facilitate social connection. So the book leans into the leverage that we really have to control our own happiness by building stronger, richer social networks.
Uh, I, you know, obviously happiness is important, but I think there's this important idea too of being in control of it. And one of the things I always want to talk about on the show, and I like talking about, is just marketing to yourself, because I feel like if you're marketing to yourself, like like controlling what's coming in and controlling that, you obviously enjoy life more, but you're more effective. And if you don't do it actively, it you go down a bad path, right? That's where a lot of I think our problems come in, is because we're allowing people to take over our marketing. How does this hack into that?
Oh, what a great question. Yeah, so we've shown in published research is that emotional states are contagious. So who do you want to be around? A miserable, unhappy, disagreeable person, or someone like me who likes you a lot and likes to hang out with you and we have a fun time, right? So
Yeah.
we do absorb the emotions around us. For example, I stopped watching the news years ago. It's all overblown, highly emotional. The world's ending tomorrow. You can read, you can think about it. So I think the book is about really making those choices and investing in relationships so that you really are living in that positive quadrant. Not that bad things don't happen, but this is really about building up resilience. So as you know, the brain is so adaptable that when I'm in this emotionally fit space, and that's what I really call this, building up emotional fitness. That's what the Six app helps you do. I have resilience. Now when life kicks me sideways, I'm like, all right, I have people who care about me, people who love me. It's so nice. I got gray hair, so I'm older than you, I think. Um, to have guy friends that I've had for 30 or 40 years call you up, hey, buddy, I love you. I'm like, oh, wow. Like if you're 25, you can't say that because it seems weird or something. But when you're older, you're like, oh, man, I've been through some crazy stuff with a couple of these
Yeah.
guys. Like we have had some wild experiences and like I know they have my back. So to have people outside your family that really love you. So I spoke at Google yesterday about this. And so why does Google care about happiness and wellness? Well, we're running out of babies, right? We're at record low unemployment rates. The U.S. has been below replacement fertility since 2010. And for now, at least, immigration is off the table, right? We're not going to be importing people. So if you have high value employees like Google does, you actually want to invest in their physical wellness and their emotional wellness so that they keep working, they're not burnt out, they don't quit, go work somewhere else. So I think it's a smart investment, as you said, is investing in the people around you and in yourself so you can be happier. Did I answer that
Yeah.
question or did I just dance around it?
No. I mean, it's an important investment. I think it's one of those things that, and you mentioned too, like shutting off the news. Uh, what when you look at your research, what are I guess the six experiences, but what are the high leverage things that people can be doing inside of their personal absorption to make sure they're absorbing the right things, make sure they're thinking the right things?
Yeah, so the really book talks about so recent research out of Oxford University showed about 50% of people's happiness is due to having a rich social network. Awesome. What's that mean? How many people are in my phone contacts, or like it's not well defined. So the book is really about how to invest in relationships. So let's flip it around. If I think about the seven deadly sins classically, those are about being selfish. It's about putting yourself ahead of other people. But the book is about investing in relationships, being virtuous, which means putting you ahead of me. So why would I do that? Even if I'm a selfish bastard and want to live as long as possible, I've got to invest in relationships because they give us so much value, right? We don't thrive alone. And so the quality of those relationships is measured by the Six app. And so I can see, oh yeah, It's like, hey, dummy, spend time with your good friends, do these activities. And so the book is just, again, a playbook. Instead of literally, it's a checklist that goes through these different virtues. Here's a way you can strengthen relationships with those around you so that you're building up this rich network. In the companion app, which is free, you can actually track your progress. So you know it's not BS because you're like, oh yeah, I went from having 1 or 2 high value moments a day to them having 6 or 8. Here's a concrete example. So like you, I work at home a lot of days of the week or I travel. Last week was my last teaching week at my university. And so the kids have a big presentation in one of my classes. And so I brought in lunch and it was, kind of celebratory. It's still, they're still getting graded, but we've been through the whole semester together. And then that evening, I took my lab out to happy hour and dinner. And I normally get, 3 or 4 high value moments a day. I got 10 high value moments. It's like, oh, I really do like these people. I like my graduate students. I like spending time with them. Don't be such a introverted lab boy. Come out of the basement occasionally and interact with the humans. But by having a measurement technology that's not asking me weird questions, just measuring my brain activity in real time, then I'm like, oh, hey, dummy, make sure you go out and see the humans.
It is. I think that's one of those things too that more so than ever we need to be reminded of, right? Because it's, I mean, actually this is funny because my wife's like, I was at my sister's house and I left a bag there, and she's like, "You didn't pick that up?" And I'm like, and because it was like 3 days ago, I'm like, I haven't left the house in 3 days, right? And she's like, "You took our son to school?" I'm like, "Yeah." I literally didn't get out of the car, so I don't think that
Hardly
counts.
counts, right?
Yeah, but we need to be reminded of this because you look at the blue zone research, we look at all that, and it's so important for our business too, and it's so important for because I see this all the time where people go, like you're talking about, they go heads down because you're an expert, you go heads down in the work and forget the people you're serving,
right? And the people that depend on you, your colleagues as well, right? So
yeah.
at Google, they're moving to minimum 3 days a week in office, and that's very consistent with the research my group has done. Oh man, it's so nice to work at home in stretchy pants like I'm doing right now. You probably do too. But in the office, we get that chit chat, we get that energy, we pick up the excitement. And man, it was fun being at Google all day, right? I was there almost the entire day. I had lunch, I was talking to people, I had meetings. Like, oh yeah, and I had a whole bunch of high value moments. Of course, I'm around the humans, and
Yep.
I think you said this very nicely. I'm also of service to them, right? They brought me out because I'm providing some kind of value for them, and we're talking about how to extend this relationship. Well, that's exciting, and it says that they're really serious about creating value not only for their bazillions of people who get pushed advertising, but make sure those employees are actually seen as valuable and have the tools to live happier, healthier lives.
Yeah, it's actually next week we have Barry Jacobson coming on, who was the head of experience at Disney, but we were talking a lot, and so we did a pre-call with him, and he's going to talk a lot about how he inspired his team members, right? And and we talk about culture and all this stuff, but then we forget that these are the people we're serving, those people as much as leaders as we are the people that we sell something to. I think that's a really important point, and looking that up and really can transform an organization. You wrote whole books on this, right?
Yeah, and I think there's sort of two polar ways to think about that. One is sort of leading by fear. Come on, you guys, work harder, blah blah, and that's a great short-term motivator. It's a bad long-term motivator because people just acclimate to fear. It's like when you first started flying airplanes and turbulence maybe bothered you in the beginning. After I've been on 5 bazillion airplanes, and so what if it's turbulent? There's nothing I can do about it, right? So you acclimate to that. But think about leading the opposite level, leading by love, like that inverted pyramid where my job as a leader is to make everyone around me successful because they're the ones who are ultimately creating value for customers. So my job is to be a service dog, right? So you whistle, I'm going to come help you. And that gives me great satisfaction to be of service to other people, but it's in service of a wider society, right? Those individuals on top of that inverted pyramid are customer facing, which I generally am not. And they're making people happy every day, and they should get the satisfaction and the recognition from that. So yeah, really being of service to others. So again, it's kind of a weird thing. You mentioned the blue zone. So I have a house in the blue zone, and I just happen to live there because my wife worked at the medical center, and they're so socially connected. These are Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda,
Mhm.
California, super socially connected, the only blue zone in the United States, because they're sort of an out group. They're kind of a offshoot, odd Protestant group or vegetarian. They don't drink, they don't smoke, and you can't kill them. And actually, they're quite happy. We've done NIH-funded research on this super old because I have a great population nearby. And, I'm poking them with needles. We did drug studies on these people. They're so nice. And they're not just faking it, they're just in this embedded community. So we should all want to live in embedded communities where people, even though they're just friends, really care about us.
I love that. It is, and it's one of those things that you have to be intentional about.
Mm.
I mean, some people just land in it, but and that's why I love having this book and everything you're talking about it's quote unquote common sense in some way, shape, or form, but you have to have intention around it, especially as we're getting dragged around. And when we look at the book, there's 45 different
Yeah, virtues. Yeah.
virtues. Yes,
Yeah.
virtues. That was the term. Um, and when you look at those, which has been the most powerful to you?
Boy, that's a great question. I think the philosopher Cicero said that gratitude is the mother of all virtues. I just think being grateful. When my kids were little, I remember one of my kids has ADD, which was undiagnosed, and she would just run around like a crazy person. And I remember telling her, like, "Could you just like be nice to us? Like, just you're in your own world, just buzzing around." And I feel like that is almost the most important. Just be, first of all, we're on this side of the earth, right? Um, we're breathing. We have people that care about us. Think about our lives, right? You got some woman to marry you and reproduce with you. How lucky are you? A lot of people don't have that beautiful thing, right? So you live in a nice house. You have a job that most of the time you probably like, and get to talk to fascinating people like me all the time. Like, well,
Yeah,
that's perfect, right? So but I think building those relationships. So again, like there's a saying in psychology, all research is me search. So maybe I had poor social skills, and that's the reason why I started studying social connection. But just being reminded and having this app remind you and having like, okay, now what do I do? Well, the book tells you what to do. Here's some things you can do. So I try to make it really simple, but also science-based on how to be happier.
I love it. Yeah, because when folks go. I mean, pick it up. It's inexpensive. It's easy. We'll put a link in the show notes. A little book of happiness. It's scientifically proven, which I like. Because I'm like, you can be skeptical. And you're like, is this really going to work? But for less than on Kindle, it's less than $1.
Right.
You can be happy, and you have the app. I mean, it's a no brainer, and we need to be reminded of things. And coming back to that idea of that, we just need to be reminded of those things. Which one of the virtues do you feel like you need to be reminded of the most that you have a difficult time handling?
Yeah, I think it's really being tolerant. It's so easy to get frustrated. One of the beautiful things about having gray hair is that you learn to emotionally regulate better as people age. Most people do. And so, yeah, you cut me off in traffic 30 years ago. Oh, man, I would be chasing you down. I want to murder you. And now I'm like, whatever. Right. And so really learning to let things go. And from a neuroscience perspective, the people around us, including ourselves, are not going to be consistent. And I think that's one of the big takeaways here is that my wife, my kids, my work colleagues, they're going to have good days and bad days. And they don't know it because their brain's just adapting to lack of sleep or lack of food or my dog died or someone yelled at me on the way to work. Right. So they don't know. They're just adapting. And so by being tolerant, you're like, oh, dude, having a bad day. So what? It's not reflective on me, although it sometimes comes at you. And so I think just kind of letting go that I'm so important that everyone has to treat me perfectly all the time. No, it's not a big deal. I think COVID helped us convince us of that, right? Like restaurants, when they reopen, were slow. They didn't have enough people. And you're like, meh, at least it's open, right? So just not being so precious about yourself, So I got to the point where, like, when I go to Starbucks, just give me a black coffee. I don't want all the brick. Just give me a coffee. See the caffeine.
I just want it easy.
Yeah.
Whatever's easy. I love that tolerance piece. It's funny because you say that. I like literally this morning on the way back from school, picking my son up, I almost got hit, like almost like T-boned.
Ugh.
And the person was obviously looking someplace else, and I like swerved, but like the car was right there. I'm like, oh, I'm getting hit. That moment you're getting hit, and like you said, my first was anger, then fear, and then I'm like, they were probably on their phone, whatever, but they don't, and they're scared now. I'm like, just let it go and get home, right?
Right.
And it is, but it is a muscle. That tolerance is a muscle. And I think, like you said, it's one of those things we need to be reminded of. And I love having like all these exercises. There's some really cool exercises in the book. I'm going to be a little selfish here because I was thinking, like, when you build relationships and stuff, and what I do with my son Max when we take him to school is like I try and do something in the car that like, hey, like we either listen to a book and talk about it, or have one little task. How would you go about doing this with like a family member with a son?
Yeah, so I had a lot of people tell me they are doing this with their family, but you could
Mhm.
just have him pick out one of those if he's old enough to read. Pick
Oh yeah,
out one and yeah, read it and go like, hey, let's just try this thing this week. We got 3 exercises to, be more patriotic. One of the virtues is patriotism. Let's just try doing that. Let's, I don't know, we'll put a flag in front of one of the suggestions is put a flag in front of your house and see what your neighbors say.
yeah.
I'm proud to
No, I
yeah,
think
we should be. You're lucky. We're not perfect. No one's perfect. But against that tolerance, right? So um, anyway, little things, but I think letting him pick would be so much fun.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's fun because I'll tell you the one that's failed a lot is he hates ChatGPT. It's weird. He's 11 years old and just like he will not use it, not talk to it, and so he'll be talking to Dr. Paul Zak instead.
Yeah. Right.
And so I love the fact that Ben Franklin is on the cover. His story. I mean, like his book by Walter Isaacson's bio is one of my favorites out there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Why is Ben on the cover?
Yeah. This was actually inspired by Ben Franklin, and so he wanted to live a happier life, and he was a wild man, right? Really wild man. And so he read all the ancient Greek philosophers, and he identified these 12 virtues. And he famously had this monthly meeting at a pub with his friends. He called their junta. And so he got excited and made a list, and I'm going to practice these. So just like my book, so I'm going to make a big list on my wall and check off each day, try to practice one of those virtues so that I become a better person. Again, virtues are putting someone else ahead of yourself so that you strengthen relationships. And that's, again, where much of our happiness comes from. So, hey, go Ben. He figured this out in whatever, 1780. Anyway, he presents this to his buddies. And afterwards, quietly, one of those guys who's a Quaker doctor goes, hey, Ben, you're talking about the virtues, and you were a little too proud to tell us how everything you had figured out. I think you need to add a 13th virtue called humility. And to his great credit, he thought about it, he goes, oh yeah, I should add humility. I shouldn't be so proud of myself just because I figured something out that lots of other people could too. So anyway, so he had 13 virtues in a big checklist. And so that's why there's a checklist in the book. And I thought, well, let's update that. Let's go through the science of these virtues and how can I strengthen relationships. This tolerance and acceptance, I think, is really kind of the core of it, and being grateful. For many of us, where even if you're struggling, hey, again, you're breathing. People care about you. You hopefully have enough food. Take a walk, breathe the air. Some of these are really simple, like that. Like just take a walk without earbuds or whatever, and just observe the stuff around you. It's just beautiful.
It is. That's one thing I've really, I mean, I always liked running and walking. I did a lot of it, but in the pandemic, I started doing I still walk a lot, but I do my first 10 minutes with no earbuds, nothing, not walking the dog. And it's amazing because it's one of those things that I'm like, every time I still doubt it. And then like 8 minutes in, it's like getting better. But then like minute 10, something happens. And I'm like, why don't I do this all the time? And that's such great advice and such a simple thing, and being appreciative of just that's today I was actually doing that. I'm like, I'm just appreciative I can walk. Right? There's
Right.
plenty of people that can't, that have hip problems, or there's so many reasons. But this is, I mean, it's such a powerful thing. So we'll put a link to the book, obviously, a link to the app. And where are you spending your time online? LinkedIn still, or where should we be following you?
LinkedIn, or you can go to the app website, which is YourSix, the number six, YourSix.com. If you're listening to this, you can email me from there. You can find it. And yeah, it's 25 years of my life to bring this to fruition. So to have an app and a book, and it might be my last book. I think four probably is enough. And I think this is the culmination of everything I've studied, and I try to be of service to others. That's why the Kindle is $1, and we're trying to make it really cheap. And I just want to have a positive impact on the world at this stage of my life. So if people get some value out of it, awesome. I'm thrilled.
And there's tons of value in it. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to follow them. Any last words of advice before I let you go?
You asked me a question earlier, which I think I answered poorly. I think I said gratitude as the sort of ultimate. I think beyond gratitude is love. And I think you said this really nicely. First of all, self-love, you got to be happy, like with yourself, and then sharing that with other people. And so, real quick story, years ago, Time Magazine asked me to write like 3 sentences on like New Year's resolution, which I think is a dumb idea. But anyway, and I'm like, I got 3 sentences. What can I say? And because I'm a science guy, I think of rules, of algorithms. And I said, well, my algorithm in life is what I call love plus. I try to ensure that every interaction I have adds love to the world. So when I reflect, when I go to sleep at night, was I a positive influence on the people around me? And I think that's really the mother of all virtues, not even gratitude, but this is love plus. I'm just going to try to add love to the world every day. You did it, right? When you had that near accident, you could have got out and screamed at that guy and called, like, that person had as bad a time as I did, whether it was their fault or not. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there was no accident, right?
Right.
And that's just such an amazing thing to say at the end of the day, because I mean, like I said, shifting your mind, but also, when it comes to marketing yourself to yourself, and like what the ideas we put back in our head, I think that we forget the power at the end of the day and the beginning of the day. And it's, because especially when you program yourself, I know I've been deep into this AI stuff, and I've been looking at all of it at the end of the day, and then I'm having weird AI dreams all night. So asking that question, it just really reinforces so much. And I can imagine it just like changing your interactions the next day. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And for the
Um,
difficult people. So the Dalai Lama wrote somewhere that not only should we tolerate difficult people, we should celebrate them
mhm.
because they give us a chance to practice true compassion. So when I had a colleague who basically was threatened by me and wanted to get me fired, and then I realized, like, oh, and it eventually turned out he was bipolar and got medicated, but he would just, for no reason, just pick on me, like yell at me, I mean, literally yell, like inappropriate, unprofessional stuff. I realized, well, he doesn't talk to his adult children. He's got a really weird wife, which just seems odd. This poor man has suffered a lot, and he's taken out on me, but I'm a big kid. Screw you. I don't care. It's not that important, right? And this poor man is suffering, and he doesn't know how to deal with that suffering. So yeah, so I'm trying to work on that now. Not only just add love to the people around me who are nice, but try to really express that to people who are difficult, who are, again, think from a neuroscience perspective, they got a bad brain, something's going on with them. So
Mhm.
be nice to them.
Yeah, I know we said we were ending, but I mean, I just think that's an important perspective, because I mean, neuroscience, it's just a lot in life, right? It's how your brain is hardwired. Yes, can you change it some ways? Yes. Can it be changed positively and negatively? Yes. But you've got to look at everyone as like, there's someone that way, right? I mean, you see it. I've seen, little kids. You're like, ooh, that person's going to be a handful for the
Right.
rest of their life. But I mean, it's a fantastic perspective. And once again, it comes back to, it's an art, it's a muscle,
Mhm.
it's not something we all can do. And these are all skill sets, and having like the tolerance exercises and going through these exercises it's just so important, folks. So important to not just your happiness, I think, but to your overall success and perception of it. Dr. Paul, Zach, Always so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the Garlic Marketing Show. I appreciate it.
You're the best. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for making Dr. Paul Zak and I part of your story. This has been Iron Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.